You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. All right, folks, at BlackPAC today dropped their poll, and it shows that 1/3 of black voters want somebody else running for president. According to their particular poll, more than 50% say Democrats are not paying enough attention to their issues, saying they spend far too much time on impeachment and other issues as well. But of course, they also cannot stand Donald Trump. According to BlackPAC's poll, 76% of black voters disapprove of Donald Trump's performance. 80% want him removed from office. And other black voters who got contacted by the Trump campaign, 57% said it negatively influenced their willingness to vote for president. And it says here, the political story, nearly a quarter of voters said defeating Donald Trump was the most important to them in November. Look, here's the reality. I think when you look at this poll here, Mayor, polls are a snapshot. The reality is most of the attention leading up to, I would say, October, November, December, January was about Iowa and New Hampshire, two largely white states. Yeah. And so it's no surprise there. But there is some concern when it comes to for Democrats, because Donald Trump and his White House, they are focused on trying to get anywhere from 15 to 20% of black male voters. Elizabeth Warren did a sit-down conversation with a group of black men that was organized, and she said, look, her deal was she wanted to listen as opposed to sort of just keep saying what she wanted to do. That's an area Democrats must be paying attention to.
The first thing I heard that was interesting in there is that black people actually going to the polls. We talked about this before, but number one, we got to go to the polls and see what's real about this, what's real about the discussions that we have. But the other piece of it is that we can talk about black males, and again, these are polls. These are just snapshots of what people think and what people feel. These are not it's not factual data, and I don't really know who did that poll, but
Cornell Belcher.
Okay, so look, this is the reality.
One of the top black pollsters in the country.
Yeah, you don't get it wrong.
I respect this. I respect it. I get it. I respect everybody's research and what they do. But when we talk about the actual polls and actually what's going to happen in the November election, the first thing is everybody run for office because everybody think they can do it. Okay? Donald Trump and along with the rest of these people, they make these promises. Okay, and it's about what promises they really make to the people. We get very focused and we get very down bad on these ideas of foreign policy and all these fancy things. But the reality is, it's the promises they make. And when we see Donald Trump, we see him meeting with pastors. We see him bringing on people like that he's helping and really dealing with prison reform, which we know he really isn't. But when you do certain things and when you really do things that appeal to the people and you're popular and it happens. And then let's also be honest. The Republican Party, more than all of us, the Republican Party, they are very, very structured, and they're very, very entitled, and they go out and they get votes and they sustain them, and they win at the end. So,
but I think what's happening here. I mean, first of all, it's no shock. I see this poll, if a third of black people want somebody else to run, because it's not like folks are just bowled over. But also, I think we got to understand something. You have a generation of young voters who their first president was a black guy.
Obama. Yeah.
Right. Okay, elected in 2008. That's 12 years ago. Okay, so if you were 10 years
progressive policies.
Forget that. He's black.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so bottom line is this here. If you were 10 years old, okay, Obama was elected, means you were 18 when his term was up. All right, which means that by November 2020, you're now 20.
Yep.
See, so your view of who I want to be president is changed because of him. Second, he also was a once-in-a-generation president.
Absolutely.
If you look at, and just in terms of, if you just look at historically, you take Obama in 2008, maybe you want to say Clinton 92, I don't believe so. I say you have to go back to Reagan, okay? That's 1980. So you have it's a gap of 28 years. Reagan, you got to go back to then JFK, 1960. That's a gap of 20 years.
Yeah.
In terms of JFK, you got to go back to FDR. Not Eisenhower. I mean, Eisenhower was a war hero, but he was boring.
Yeah.
He wasn't a generational leader. It's FDR. So now I got to go back almost 30 years. And so you have to, so when people say, I want somebody who's going to excite me and motivate me, that only happens once a generation.
Absolutely.
So that's what I'm talking about here. And so it's no surprise that you sort of have that view. And that's why people say, oh my God, I can't believe all minority candidates dropped out. And I had to remind people, historically, black people have not supported black presidential candidates. Obama actually was the first. I mean, you had Reverend Jackson. I'm talking about in terms of in that way. And so I think what black voters are also looking at here is you're going to have to address, again, to me, the nuances of what's going on. Eugene, I go back, the Democrat, there's a 9-point gap between black women who voted for Obama versus Romney and black men. It was 9, okay? It was a 13-point gap between black women and black men with Hillary versus Trump. Trump White House, they told me this. They said, we think we can get 20%. Democrats had better start asking themselves, what is it that black men, what is Trump doing that is appealing to these black men to get them interested?
Just a little bit inside baseball here. I agree with you. I agree with you with every point there. And Team Trump, particularly certain factions of Team Trump, because the broader folk that are power players within Team Trump still don't, give two Fs about the black vote. But there are certain factions of Team Trump that think that, hey, Paris has said on the record they can go from 8 to 13% broadly, and they want to shoot for that 20% among black men. I think, honestly, what it comes down to is engagement, to be honest with you. I think Democrats over the last, X amount of years, going back to Hillary's campaign, have lacked any engagement. And Team Trump, saw a couple things that happened on the RNC side in 2016, and now they're going to attempt to do a couple things on the actual campaign side. The issue that they have is that Trump is still nuclearly toxic. But what they do understand is that although he is nuclearly toxic, if you go in and you figure out what particular issues that certain black men like that appeal to them, whether it be business, whether it be just, okay, hey, we're going to try out Alice Johnson and talk about criminal justice reform, you can possibly peel off some voters there. But their game is just to play around the margins. And I think if Democrats are going to play defense here, or more particularly play offense here, I think the broader aspect of the poll there shows that, hey, it's a reflection of the lack of engagement. Joe Biden, early on engaged black voters. Kamala engaged black voters. You're seeing one of the reasons you're seeing, the black surge around Bloomberg is because he's engaging black people right now. Amy and Pete and folk aren't getting the support because they are not engaging black people. And I think that's the biggest point coming out of that poll. But, I think there's enough toxicity around Team Trump. Look, I'm a black Republican. I'm a lifelong Republican. Now granted, I took the unique stance of saying, F Trump, I'm a never Trumper. And that means never, never, which means that for the first time, I'm probably voting Democrat this cycle, depending on who it is, who the nominee is. But the thing there is this. I can tell you that there is enough toxicity around Trump that most black people are going to say no to Trump, but even black Republicans will say no to Trump if you give them a reason to. But I also understand, knowing that politics is very cerebral, very sniper-like, not necessarily shotgun-like, but very sniper-like, where you zone in on a particular target and just hammer it in and just keep shooting at it, that if Team Trump applies that and, whoever the Democrat nominee or the DNC or the outside organizations don't do their job and engage, and it has to be engagement, Democrats this cycle have to do essentially what Cambridge Analytica did last cycle. Figure out what your particular issue is, and then come in and hammer it in. But that's what Team Trump's doing. They're gonna run okay, these are our 86 issues that we can talk about, and figure out what you particularly like and what you particularly like, and then carve out a margin. And unless Democrats fight the same way, they're going to be successful at it.
Like I said, Republicans know how to sustain a vote. They They go.
But I don't necessarily agree with that, because the thing is this: this would be one of the few times that Republicans actually take the black vote seriously. We do it at the state level. Christie was successful, Gates was successful, Hogan was successful twice. But national level, the RNC typically disregards the black vote.
Mustafa,
you have to make the investments in the black community. We know that. But now Trump actually has a record that he has to run on. So before he could make all kinds of promises without anybody being able to ground truth any of that. Wealth disparity in our country is at one of its largest in history. We know that affordable housing, they have not made the investments there, so it's much more difficult now for folks to find affordable housing. We can talk about all the impacts that are happening to communities of color because of pollution and other things, but it really comes down to jobs also. And, they have not created the types of jobs that are necessary inside of our community. But none of that is going to matter if the DNC and others are not willing to make the investments inside of our community so that the organizations who are on the ground, those organizations of color, can actually properly engage with folks and there be an authentic process.
I don't think that you're going to get an authentic process from either side. But what I will say that you will get is if you get somebody out there that's going to make the investment on the popular issues. The thing I think that the DNC do not do well is that they don't have any really true issues. They talk a lot and they say a lot. Everybody is on a different page. With the Republican Party, we can talk about it, we can disagree about it, but they sustain the votes because they have very specific issues. They narrow in on it, like you said, and they hit it, they target it, they hit it.
Yeah, but the other thing but let's also just be clear, okay? First of all, there's some basic fundamental facts that we have to recognize with elections. And some of y'all might be getting real pissed off at me right now, but I really don't care, because you have to understand the math. So let me just be as blunt as possible. These candidates are not talking to black and Latinos. They're talking to white people.
Yep, 100%.
Okay, let me explain to you what I'm talking about. In the last election, 71 or 72% of the total electorate was white. Do y'all hear me? What I'm saying is, of all votes cast in the last election, 71 or 72% were cast by white Americans. The reality is, if you're black and Latino, you're really waiting to see what white folks gonna figure out before who you vote for. I'll go back to 2008. Polling data was real clear. African Americans, not quite sure what white folks are gonna do when it comes to Obama. Obama goes to Iowa, really white state. Ooh, he wins Iowa. Black people like, all right, white folks cool with Obama. We see what they did, now we can roll. It's a fact. Now we can sit here and act like it's not the case. This election, depending upon what turnout is, this election will be the first election in American history where less than 70% of the electorate is white. It will be 68, 69, okay? So when you talk about these issues, you have to understand numbers are numbers. And so, black and Latinos, the reason we keep saying, talk about our issues, because first of all, we have to over-index.
Yes.
That's what we have to do. We have to over-index on our vote to make up for the number of whites who aren't voting. And so it's understanding numbers. Second, we talked about this last week with the data from Cornell Belcher. Since 1964, no Democrat has received more than 39% of the white vote. Let me say it again. No Democrat has received more than 39% of the white vote. So when the mayor's talking about Republicans and their issues, no, let's just be real clear. Republican Party is a white party. Let me say it again. Republican Party is a white party. Republican Party is not a diverse party.
Nope.
They got a couple of people like Eugene. They got a couple of people like Anna Navarro, but that's what they are. And so the reality is they can only speak to 3 or 4 issues. Truth is the Democrat tent is much larger. So as a result, those under the Democrat tent make more demands of who is running for president because it's a larger tent. So if you're a Democrat, you got to speak to African Americans, Latinos, you got to speak to Asians, LGBTQ. You got to speak to those who care about the environment. It's like there are more constituencies in the Democratic Party who are vying for attention, saying, listen to me, listen to me, listen to me. On the Republican side, it's real clear. You white, you conservative, you love Jesus. Howard Dean said, God gave guns. So you have to understand what is going on here. And so what Trump wants to do is to pick off, well, I can pick off 15, 16, 17, I can offset, okay, black women turnout over here. That's all that is. And so you have to understand how the game is being played. But again, no Democrat since 1964. What's the correlation? LBJ ran for re-election in 64. Okay, after that, he signed the Civil Rights Act 64, Voting Rights Act of 65, Fair Housing Act of 68, and white voters were not happy and have not been happy. And more than 60% or more of white voters in America have voted for the Republican candidate, which is why any of y'all talking about staying at home is a dumbass. And I'm saying it for a reason. Because you have to understand, if you say my vote doesn't count, it damn sure don't count if your ass stay at home. But you have to look at the data to understand really what is going on here. That was a 2.4% drop black voter turnout in 2016. The first time in 20 years it had dropped. Understand? So I'm not blaming black people for Trump winning. White women got to bear that burden. 53% of white women voted for Trump. Also, college-educated white folks, the numbers who voted for Trump as well. But we have to understand numbers. So when you say, candidates are not talking to me, 71, 72% total electorate white. Everybody else over here, that's how they are looking to and speaking to issues. Just understand that. It's basic math. I think a lot of us don't want to understand that. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, folks, are you looking to enhance your leadership or that of your team in 2020? Well, you should join Dr. Jackie Hood Martin for her newest online course and mastermind group, How Successful People Think. She'll be your guide as you learn timeless leadership principles to apply to daily living. The offer expires on February 28th. That's this week. So register for or start the online course today. Go to www.livetolead.com/Leesburg. Live, L-I-V-E, the number 2, LEAD.com/Leesburg. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it.